Hello, welcome to Invictus Porsche. I want to do a review specifically on the 911 Carrera T, but I can't resist the temptation of having to do a comparison between the 991 Gen 1 GT3 and the Carrera T, because many people would call the Carrera T a budget GT3. So let's really find out. Well, we'll get right into it. Firstly, these are two very different cars because they belong to two different generations of 911. This is the 991 Gen 2 and that is the 991 Gen 1. And this is a GT3, so the GT3 comes from a completely different program of the Porsche world. You know, they've got a GT program exclusive for the GT3, and that sort of started off the 996 GT3, 997, and carried on into the 991 Gen 1 GT3 and the 991 Gen 2 GT3. So you could see that the differences are, you know, the earth and the sky apart, really. I mean, you really couldn't find two very different cars, but yet the journalist would compare the 991 Gen 2 Carrera T to be a budget GT3. I can't really see the comparison here, and that's just strictly from the styling. Well, we're not going to get into the technicals, ins and outs of it as of yet. Just wanted you to appreciate just simply the rear, the spoiler, the design of the back of the GT3 in comparison to the 991 Carrera T, which was introduced in 2017. Well, late 2017. They were actually registered in 2018. This being a Gen 2, the interior is completely revised, as well as the, you know, quite a lot of the exterior is revised. And starting from, you know, the changes, this has the 3-liter twin turbo engine here at the back, whereas this is still the naturally aspirated 3.8-liter flat 6 Porsche. So, you know, that's just one aspect of it. But where the comparison really comes between these two cars is that the Carrera T for too long has been acclaimed as a car that less is more, whereby the soundproofing is thinned, such as that the rear glass is thinner, and if you go into the inside, sorry, it's locked itself. If you go into the inside, you'll find things like the door straps, the door handles being replaced with straps, and you know, as default you don't actually have a stereo system, but you can actually option to have that. And additionally, if you have a look on the inside of it, you will find that there are no rear seats, and all of this is not, you know, saving a great deal of weight. In total, it's only saving 20 kilograms. But, you know, 20 kilograms in Porsches is in some ways and can be quite a lot. And the proof is really in the pudding. And now if we go over to talk about the GT3, let Andy from this side. Well, firstly, to get into the GT3 is an experience in itself. You've got the carbon bucket seats. You know, you can't really adjust the backrest, and you know, on the inside, in some ways, you can consider this as a rather dated interior as opposed to the 991 Carrera 2, but the 991 Carrera T, the Gen 2 911, the Gen 2 911 991. And that's for obvious reasons. Porsche would like to continue to refine, evolve and develop their products slowly over time rather than rush it in some ways. So that is a completely, refined, modern, both from the PCM perspective, what the spec is, how the car drives and how the car handles, and all the ECU input from whether that's traction control, whether that's stability and everything else that you can think of. But, you can see that in some ways this interior, as opposed to the interior on the Carrera T, it's the earth and sky apart. Well, the differences not only end there. The performance on the GT3 on the 3.8 litre engine is superior to the Carrera T, because the Carrera T, despite it being twin turbocharged, does not produce the 470 brake horsepower, the 440 bhp and the 0 to 60 that this is capable of in 3.5 seconds, whereas this isn't capable of the same performance figures. I mean, simply talking about the 0 to 60, you're looking at it and you would be able to do it in about 4.3 seconds as opposed to 3.5 seconds. Also the BHP, as I mentioned, this is 470. This roughly, I mean, don't hold me to it, is approximately 440. You can correct me later. And the torque is, similar and rather, not very different to the GT3. Well, what sort of a person buys the GT3 in comparison to the Carrera T? Well, the sort of a person that would be buying the GT3 would be somebody that is going to be in some ways tracking it, in some ways looking for that raw Porsche experience that, the best of what Porsche can offer. The driver focused, almost, I would say, road legal, but the almost road legal element wouldn't necessarily be true about the GT3, because the almost road legal car would be the GT3 RS, but that's a whole different kettle of fish, and hopefully we'll do a comparison between a GT3 and a GT3 RS not so far in the distant future. Whereas this is for the everyday passionate Porsche enthusiast, somebody that wants the comforts of a daily driven 911 as opposed to a hardcore Porsche enthusiast. And if you come onto the inside of this one more time, just to illustrate, from the get-go, sitting into it, I mean, firstly, it doesn't have carbon seats. Yes, it's got the sports seats and that are fabric, and it's got this yellow theme going all over into the car. This is a rather comfortable 911, a 911 that you can enjoy, a 911 that has a lot more input from the ECU. Yes, it shares some spec elements such as the Porsche Active Dynamic engine mounts, the sports exhaust, the front axle lift, PASM, things like, the PCM system isn't necessarily the same, but both are touchscreen, both in some ways offer similar capabilities. That doesn't have heated seats, this does have heated seats. The steering wheel on this is completely redesigned. I mean, how you actually go from Sport Plus, the Chrono Sports package, rather than you having buttons here, they've put this nice, lovely, beautiful clock here in the middle. So it's there for you visually. I still can't seem to understand or in any way, form or shape appreciate the differences between a GT3 991 Gen 1 and a GT3, a Carrera T 991 Gen 2. Where are the differences? Less is more. Yes, okay, that's what some Porsches want. That's what some Porsche owners want. But at the end of the day, this isn't a vastly different car to the base Carrera or to the Carrera S. In some ways, you can say that with a price tag of £75,000 plus the £10,000 worth of optionals, this is in some ways still a sort of, I would say, simpler and analog Porsche. But can you really call it analog? I'd say not really, just because you have thinned down the soundproofing and you know, have had rather than door handles replaced with straps and just a couple of other smaller touches here and there, it's not gonna make it a GT3, and I think we'll leave it on that subject. So thank you very much, and not to forget, don't forget to press that like, you can comment and you can subscribe.